Ever been scrolling through a sea of guitars that look amazing in the photos, only to find that when you finally get them in your hands they feel like a compromise? I've been there spending hours watching demo videos, reading the glossy specs, and still ending up with a tone or feel that doesn't match the hype. That frustration is real, especially with semi-hollow body guitars where the balance between resonance and feedback can be a thin line. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, because I'm going to walk through exactly why the Ibanez John Scofield JSM20 might be the answer to that dilemma, or why it could end up being another regret. First, let's set the stage for anyone who's never owned a semi-hollow. These guitars sit somewhere between a solid body's tight attack and a fully hollow's airy resonance. They're loved by jazz and blues players for the warm, open sound, but they're also notorious for picking up unwanted hum in high-gain settings or on stage with loud monitors. The usual buyer concerns revolve around three things: how the body's weight and shape sit on a gig nightstand, whether the pickup configuration can handle both clean jazz chords and a gritty solo, and if the aesthetics are worth the price tag. The JSM20 checks a lot of those boxes, but it also carries a few trade-offs that only become clear after you plug it in. The JSM20's body is a semi-hollow with a maple top, giving it a bright, articulate response right out of the gate. In a small club setting, that maple top really shines when you're playing clean or lightly overdriven chords. There's a crispness that cuts through the mix without sounding thin. I tried it on a 15-minute jam session with a rhythm section, and the top's bite helped my rhythm lines sit clearly even when the drummer was laying down a solid backbeat. The two humbucking pickups, finished in a low-gloss black, bring a warm, rounded low end that's perfect for the kind of smooth, vocal-like phrasing you hear on John Scofield's recordings. When I pushed the gain into a mild overdrive for a blues solo, the humbuckers stayed tight and didn't introduce the nasty feedback you sometimes get with single coils on a semi-hollow body. Now, the neck. It's a Nyadam-Apple hybrid with an ebony fingerboard, something you don't see on a lot of entry-level semi-hollows. The neck feels fast enough for quick jazz runs but still sturdy when you throw in a few bends on a blues lick. The ebony fingerboard adds a little snap to each note, which you'll notice when you're doing articulate chord melody work. I was playing a standard major blues progression, and the neck's profile let me shift between chord shapes and single-note lines without any hand fatigue, even after an hour of playing. One practical strength that isn't always highlighted in the specs is the guitar's feedback resistance. Because the JSM20 uses humbuckers rather than the typical single-coil setup you see on many semi-hollow designs, the pickup's noise-canceling nature actually tames the squeal that can happen when you crank up a tube amp on stage. I tested this by running the guitar through a 30-watt tube amp at about 75% volume in a cramped rehearsal room, and the feedback was negligible. For gigging musicians who need to run a little higher volume without lugging a massive pedal board for noise suppression, that's a genuine time saver. On the flip side, the semi-hollow body does add a bit of weight. The JSM20 isn't a featherweight. The maple top and the block end beam construction make it feel solid enough to stay put during a standing gig, but that also means you'll notice the heft when you're holding it for a long practice session. If you're a player who prefers a lightweight travel guitar or you have shoulder issues, you might find the weight a little demanding. Also, while the humbuckers are great for warm tones, they can feel a bit limiting if you're chasing the razor-sharp attack of high-gain metal. I tried a high-gain pedal chain and the guitar delivered a thick, heavy sound, but the articulation wasn't as defined as a solid-body metal axe would give you. So if you're primarily a shredder looking for tight, fast note definition, the JSM20 might feel a step behind. Who should consider buying this thing? If you're a jazz, blues, or fusion player who wants a versatile instrument that can handle clean chord melody work and step into a modest overdriven tone without screaming feedback, the JSM20 is a solid choice. Its aesthetic black low-gloss finish with subtle branding also makes it look professional on stage, which is a plus if you're building a visual brand as a performer. The price point sits comfortably in the mid-range, delivering features like an ebony fingerboard and a dual humbucker setup that you'd typically see on higher-priced models. For teachers or gigging musicians who need a reliable workhorse that can swing from a coffee house set to a small club, This guitar offers the tonal flexibility without breaking the bank. Who might want to skip it? Beginners who